In here, boys and girls.
Ah.
Pink drink in my buzz.
Hey.
Pink drink in my buzz. Whoa, pink drink in my buzz.
Woo! What is good? What is poppin'? What is crackin'-lackin', everybody? My name is Big C.
My name is No Dog.
And my name is Dan.
And welcome to episode 72 of Bad Habits of Podcast. If y'all can't tell, we're gonna make a round of applause for the young bucks back in the building.
Back in the building.
It's the return. It's the return. It's the return.
There you go, mate.
Good, you know, good. Back from my sabbatical.
When was the last one you did?
The last one I did was
Is that when I was in Prince Edward County?
Yes.
Fuck, that was like early September.
Ages ago, eh?
Fuck, you know.
Yeah, so about 2 months.
Well, I'm back.
You know.
Back and I'm better, you know. I had my little sabbatical. Found myself.
You want to give?
And now I'm here.
On a walkabout.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give? You want to give a nice, just doesn't have to be lengthy, but just like a recap of what's been cracking, what's news. Just let people know where you've been at.
I went to England. It was great. Saw family, friends. First time I went back in over a year and like 4 months. It was great, amazing. Saw everyone. And I came back. They were doing the Relentless Unpacked, and
Yes.
So because I wasn't directly involved with everything, I took a little step back from that, and then let these guys do their thing, and now we're basically here.
Back in business.
Back to regular scheduled programming. You know.
Pleasure to have you back, bro. It's nice, you know.
It's amazing.
We held it down. It was a little because we were so used to having the third voice here. It was kind of throwing it back to because we only did 10 episodes, just Brad and I think you came in episode 10,
yes.
wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I actually came pretty. I've been in there
pretty early. You've basically been the whole thing, give or take
Shit.
a couple things here and there.
Do you realise?
So like it was, we did it. We held it down. We did the slang most, but we did one each, an Aussie one each.
Oh my god!
And most of the time we forgot until the very end of the episode, and then we quickly slid it in.
Just sneak it in like terrific sneaker. It was very hard,
but we
got it done, mate. So you'd be proud.
Okay.
Yeah, we tried to hold it down. Sometimes we came up with the Aussie, the funny articles and stuff, and we held it down the best we could because we realized some of these things that we do are just need 3 people to do it. You know what I mean? So we held it down.
Do you want to do a quick slang thing now?
I think we should. Do the slang thing because that's how we've been setting them off. And whoever wants to,
I can give you an example.
Okay.
The word is murked.
Murked. I guess we all know what that is.
Ooh. Love it.
Everyone knows what murked is?
Yeah.
Oh, the same over here.
Gurkst.
I guess, but then you can use it in that term, but then...
hang on, what does it mean in the UK?
You can use it in that sense, but then you can also use it as in, like, I absolutely destroyed you, like, I'm significantly better than you, for example.
Yeah, we use it like that
too.
same
sort of thing. Easy.
So on that note then, so murked from the UK, meaning that I'm going to go with the Toronto slang and go gurkst, because I think it's just fucking hilarious as opposed to the Aussie slang this time.
That is amazing. I love gurkst.
Genius.
Gurkst is like murk, but specifically about like...
Nice.
Yeah, I think stabbing or like
hit. It's definitely like a stabbing or a bash. It's
or a punch.
Or a stab.
Exactly. So you got like I gurkst him. I don't think that's your understanding, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scarborough things.
Is it only a violent act? Like there's no other...
I think so.
I've only heard it in that term.
Unless you say it in context, then it can be softened, but I think it's genuinely a violence and aggression sort of thing.
If you were to play, I don't know, you play FIFA against someone, you beat them 10-0, you can say you gurked them?
So,
of course.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess so. So
it's like a flogging almost at the same time if you use it in a sport context.
I kind of feel like that's a bit of a...
stretch?
A bit of a stretch of the use of the word, but you are right to say that that's how you use it, but it might not be the technical...
right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
The other thing, though...
Australians bend all kinds of shit. We make things work. You know how it goes.
It's like vibes. The other thing was, does it mean like teethed? Because you can be like, yo, I gurked that from Walmart. Or doesn't...
No, because you'd say teeth, or you'd say you racked it. Oh, well, we would say you racked it. That's what I was using. I'll come back to that.
Racked it. Oh, do you want to use that for you? I'm done.
I'm going to do it. Yeah, because I had something else lined up. I want to use rack. Rack as in steel. Like I racked it from Kmart.
Interesting.
I rack shit. I rack shit from
Fuck rack shit. I don't know why. I thought it was like
rack.
For some reason.
Because you take the whole rack, I guess. Like is it because you take the whole rack, or because you like steal shit and make
from
racks?
a rack. Or make
still
racks,
from a rack.
I would guess you take it from a rack and then they've used that word as a verb. Yeah.
Yeah, there's old
Like,
school saying
to rack.
like to rack something,
rack
to
something.
take something off the rack.
Yeah.
Five figure discount.
In England,
That's funny.
we'd say sucked. Like
I sucked that.
I sucked from Sainsbury's. I sucked from Tesco. Or
That's kind of pause worthy.
I was about to say,
that's
generally
pause.
Jeez.
3 sucks.
Yeah, wow.
If I was to do like a
Oh my god, you should do that one next week first.
if I was to do
You
like
could
a
say, oh,
You
you
wanna
want to say, like, oh, I sucked your mum from the mall the other day. 'cause-
no, but you can't use it in that context.
Maybe you gurk, like you teeth.
Oh no!
You
If
racked someone's
I
arm?
was
Oh my
to,
God.
if hypothetically, like allegedly, if I was to steal something from an individual, yeah, I sucked from them.
I su-
I sucked
Oh
from
my
them.
you sucked on your boy, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
I sucked from my.
Hang on, sucked from your boy.
I sucked from my boy.
Ah,
Yeah, you
From.
see.
keyword from.
Mhm.
we need a
From.
we need a pause. Oh, actually
Oh,
no,
fucking hell, mate.
we definitely need a
Oh.
Why are you gay?
Okay,
Oh my God.
Much too.
so we'll do
Oh.
sucked next week. So we have repeat. We have murked,
Murked.
gurked, racked.
Okay,
And racked.
I like that. Everyone use
I
it.
love
Let's
it.
see if we can all use even our own ones. We should all use all of them.
Spam murked in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh,
Spam murked.
Spam murked in the
Actually,
comments.
That's-
leave your funniest one. Leave the one that you think is the funniest or the stupidest, like murked, gurked, or racked in the comments.
I like that.
That would be good.
That would be
I like
great.
That. I like that. Beautiful.
So we're gonna switch up the format moving
Mhm.
forward. We are gonna kind of maybe keep the music stuff a little bit more like a passing thing, and really
Mhm.
gonna be just get into more convos. I think it's
Small
really what we're
minimal.
about.
Meaningful convos. Yeah.
So on that note, just quick, was there any good music? And this could probably touch on the last few weeks, but the funny thing is, one of the reasons we were just talking before that I lost interest a little bit on going too deep in the music is it was kind of nice to just not have to listen to all that shit
Mhm.
every week. And like you just said before, Dan, that it's like it's hard to really give any meaningful thought on songs you heard very briefly
Mhm.
in a packed sort of period of time.
Especially when there's like 100 songs.
And there's 8 trillion fucking releases every
Mhm.
week, so I don't know.
8 trillion
a minimum.
Mhm.
minimum.
Was there anything that y'all listened to, whether it was this weekend or in the last few weeks since we've been doing the regular apps, that you guys fucked with or that you just want to really highlight real quick?
Yes. Yeah, I'll start. I checked the hip hop by the numbers thing. Silk Sonic, Smoking Out the Window.
So the
Uh,
single.
The single I checked out. Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
This bitch.
Yeah. It's
So
so
All
sick.
the memes on Twitter, like, killing it with
It's
that.
so good. Like, that is like... I don't know. It's just like, it sounds like music before my time. Like, it was great.
I saw a tweet, I was telling Tiff earlier, someone tweeted that I'm going to tell my grandkids that Silk's, like, I'm going to play them Silk Sonic and tell my grandkids that that's what music sounded like in my day.
Oh my god.
Which I was
that
like,
is genius.
Well done,
That
man.
is
Well done,
genius.
well done.
Should have chose Future, but like that's good. It's good enough.
Future's actually accurate, though.
Yeah, true.
I guess
True.
that's the joke, is that they're making retro, which is actually something I want to touch on today, is like the impact of them making retro music in 2021.
No, you're right.
I think it's
feel you.
interesting.
Feel you. Speaking of
It's
Future,
amazing.
he released a song with a Toronto artist called Burner. Don't know who he is. He's a decent rapper. But Future had a sick verse. I listened to it. I just listened to it today. It was great. Great tune. It was like a rapping Future. It was,
Rapping?
yeah, it's rapping Future. It's
Nate
really
Vegas.
good.
Oh, nice.
Really good. Nate Vegas done his thing. I also listened today Jasmine Sullivan, Rick Ross, and 21 Savage song Outlaws.
Cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like it, the exact instrumental you'd think Rick Ross is rapping over is what he's rapping over. Like it's so good, and he knows his bag, he knows his lane, and he just does it, and it's amazing. It's so good.
Love it.
So good. Another thing I listened to today was a rapper called Bando, featuring
Another
Isaiah Rashad, called
Oh,
Payday.
cool.
But it sounded like an Isaiah song the whole way through, and it was great. It was really good. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Really good tune. And another thing, it came out a couple of weeks ago, but Skepta released like a freestyle with Fumes the Engineer. He's a engineer.
Is that what you just sent us?
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
get. Because I went in the
Right.
shower to check it. That's okay. So it's Skepta featuring.
Skepta and this producer called Fumes. And
Fumes.
it's just a freestyle, and this is the first Skepta freestyle I've heard where he's using like bars from 2009, like stuff which I would like grown up on and like listen to. And he
Reuse them or referred to them?
reuse them, because that's what they do a lot in grime. They in their freestyle especially, they reuse bars and but on different instrumentals, and it's kind of like it'll be like a classic. They're like, oh, that's a classic Skepta line, or that's a classic Jamie line, and Skepta actually used some of these lines, and I'm like, wow, I haven't heard Skepta say something like this since 2012, and like it's so good to listen to, because Skepta has like, he does a lot of I don't know how you describe it, obscure music. Like he's like leaned away from grime, does the UK rap thing, and like it was good to hear him actually spray like actual grime bars. It was sick. But
Nice.
those are my
Like
5 teams
from the last little bit.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Those are my like favorites from the last couple weeks.
Fuck
Great.
yeah. You hear anything fine, Nosh?
Honestly, mate, I have not been paying attention because I've had a bunch on the plate. I listened to the Silk Sonic album and just on the music that vibes me up. I listened to a bunch of Selection episodes.
Nice.
There's a bunch of fire in there, which I can't recall off the tippity top, but yeah, Selection and Silk Sonic has been the bulk of it. Really, can't say too much on that. Sorry.
No, this is the whole point of this, though. You don't have to say shit about
But next
shit.
week, man, shall have some notes in it.
Hey, don't even sweat it. But then the Silk Sonic, let's talk about that. As far as that was like an album that had been. When did they put the first single out? Like it was a while ago. I would say
That was
6
a year ago.
Yeah,
there you go. Okay. So I thought they would, or we all thought they would be dropping pretty. Here I go, checking for the notes. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
We thought they would be dropping pretty soon after. They did not. I checked today, and Leave the Door Open has like 665 million plays on Spotify already.
Wow.
No, not including the video. That's just Spotify, not
The video's
Apple.
stupid.
Yes, the video is
Go check
amazing. So they ended up dropping. I think they dropped the intro. They dropped Skate, and then they dropped Smoke Out the Window. That was only like a month ago, maybe.
431 million views on a video.
Fuck. So they've got 1 billion,
Wow.
well into the billion, and that's not including Apple or Deezer or Tidal or none of that shit.
That's just 2 platforms. That's honestly
Just 2.
ridiculous.
Right. So that just shows what it is, because this music, and also the album, was it 9 or 10 tracks? I think it was 10, including an intro. It was 10. So this is what they did right. I think it's just amazing. First of all, they made retro music in the theme, in the sound, in the visuals, in their clothing, all the outfits. Everything was. It basically sounds like it's from 1973 or something.
It looks and sounds like brown velvet.
Correct. Wow. That's a great...
Or velour. What do you call it? Corduroy.
Corduroy. Yeah, Brown Velvet's a good name. That would be a good episode.
Brown Velvet. Oh, we should make a band called Brown Velvet.
Oh, I like
And their first album's called Poo Stains. You know what I mean?
that.
Sorry. No.
Wow, going
Too
right
much?
right into it. The big one.
Hey, it's on record. I might write it down for later. I might make an
Should.
album called Poo Stains.
Trademark it.
And I'll have like me in all brown. It'll be like so 80s in Napoleon Dynamite. It'll be a fucking shame.
Big collars. So the
Bell
album
bottoms,
was
isn't it?
very brown in all the aspects of the color palette. They only did an album with 10 tracks. The other album I listened to in like today was Summer Walker. I think that came out last week though.
Oh, nice.
And it was cool. It was just the most, super angry, bitter. It was like toxic shit for women, just like Drake and Future are toxic for men. So it was cool, but it was like super negative and they're hating everybody. But I'm sure it gets people through a rough
Goodness
time.
me.
Now, she had 20 songs. And I just even looked at it, I was like, oh, fucking
That's a
hell.
lot to get through.
Silk Sonic felt like, because I'd heard 4,
3, 4, yeah.
3, 4, whatever it was, of the songs, I feel like the album flew by. I was like, oh, that's it? And even
That's
Tip
why
was
you
like,
can run it again.
run it again. So that's probably why they're making that more, re-listenable music. But I think the interesting thing about them was like, I think we might have touched on this when they dropped it, that they're doing each other favors as far as Anderson already has a strong fan base. He's already super big, but he's not Bruno Mars big. But he has
That's
street
true.
cred. He has, he has the hip hop crowd, has the real so their heads. He didn't really have any huge, massive hits. Come Down was probably the biggest one, and I don't know how big that was as
For
far as
commercial success, yeah.
Yes, Bruno has had go.
Anderson's got the writing. Obviously, Bruno and him write, collaboratively, and Anderson does all the drums. Has a huge influence on the melodies and how everything's arranged. He does everything from start to finish for the Free Nationals. He kind of directs the band, but he's super versed in everything else. I think it's kind of like overall maybe a 60-40 Anderson to Bruno ratio. I might be wrong on that, but like that's the way it feels, because like Anderson's so well rounded as an instrumentalist, as a singer songwriter, and it's just like incredible. When you hear certain songs, I think the intro to the Silk Sonic album sounds like the intro to is it to the intro to Come Down or the intro to Malibu, the album itself. It's like the same structure of the way the drums go. I could literally sing the lyrics of the other joint over this. I was just like, oh fucking hell. So I definitely feel like Anderson has a bit more in creatively than Bruno, but it's a nice synergy, and they have some ridiculous outcomes from what they've done. A couple of songs I'm not amazingly keen on, but 8 out of 10 I absolutely adore. So that album is like top tier shit. People on Twitter have been talking about, like, and you said earlier, like, you know, playing my grandkids and telling this is our shit. Like, it sounds like Sunday cleaning music, Sunday, you know, flipping on the couch in the sunshine music, or like take a dog for a walk and chuck your headies on. Like, that's just proper vibes.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. And on the flip side, then, so that's what, like, Anderson gave Bruno street cred, and Bruno gave Anderson that pop reach. And
True.
They both bring different elements. Like, it's cool to hear Bruno said, like, this bitch got me pinned, like all that shit. It's kind of funny to hear him
Kind
in
of
this
gangster.
Beautiful high pitched voice to say this gangsta shit that obviously Anderson wrote. And
obviously
it's cool, and it's just like a really cool album. But I like, we've talked about it before about the rise of nostalgia in fashion, in music, in pop culture, remakes of movies. No one's coming up with new movies anymore. They're all remakes of something from the 90s or the 80s.
Or sequels, or like the threequels. What do you call it?
Exactly right.
Trilogy.
Right. Yes.
Fucking
whatever. Threequel sounds cool. I like that.
Yeah, threequel, that's the new.
Yeah, fuck that.
That's the new.
So, like, I just think that's an interesting thing that they've like doubled down on the retro. You know, we're talking about DJ Khaled always sampling something from, like, a
90s,
really well,
early 2000s.
Exactly, something from a very, very well-known song that, like, is kind of ridiculous, and it's kind of like just annoying when you hear it, because it's like
it's been done, bro. What are you doing? You're not doing anything new.
He's shooting too large, whereas these guys went and created something that feels like it's from the 70s, that appeals to people today because it's got this, the lyrical content,
golden age kind of feel to it.
Yeah, and the lyrical content is today, and the visuals are all high quality, but they've been made to look analog type of thing. It's just such an interesting project, and I wonder if it's going to inspire other people to do something like that, because I feel like it's universally loved. I haven't seen really any shit talk about any of the songs about the album. I always felt that Bruno Mars was fronted on from a cultural perspective, at least from sort of like the hip-hop world, or whatever. True. Urban, I hate that, but whatever, you know, the people who are into all that type of shit. Bruno was this pop dude, because he's philo, he's not like, he's not black, he's not Latino or whatever, who particularly run the culture.
A different minority. It's not exactly like, yeah.
Yeah, so, and he made a lot of pop music. He made some fucking brilliant songs. I love Bruno since the beginning. He's fantastic.
Facts.
But, yeah, it's interesting to see what Anderson's cosign, you could argue an underground dude's cosign has done for this pop star, and what this pop star has done to rise, you know, Anderson up. And then Anderson just signed a joint venture deal with, I forgot who it was with, Def Jam or Universal or something, for Ape Shit Records is called, to get his own. I saw that. And Dumbfounded was in the battle rapper who's hilarious. They came up together because Anderson's half Korean and Dumbfounded's Korean as well. So they really bonded. They did a lot of work together back in the day. So it was cool that he put him in the video to promote or to announce it. So I bet he'll probably be signed to the label. So it looks like a lot of things are happening for these guys.
That's
just
proper,
off the strength.
I mean, like it's a mutual business deal, and they're both the same or similar calibers, and they're both elevating each other and giving us some fucking taste of the golden oldies with a high res HD audio vintage sound.
I like that approach. I think that's exactly what it is. A taste
Super
of the
sick,
old
man.
school, but quality and now, with lyrics that are more relatable to today.
100%. The lyrics definitely have some buzzwords and kind of like relevant shit that the kids need to. It's fun to listen to, and like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, in the Pixar movies they have jokes for adults, but they're like kind of tucked in nicely. Some of these are a little obvious, but like most of them were kind of nice and tucked in. But yeah, it's a good vintage feel, and it does have the album has a nice warmth and a nice color to it, but then it does have some like sharper sort of funky tracks that hit a little harder, but it's mostly smooth and silky. And you know, Silk Sonic is a super fitting name. I forget who they asked to name their group. I remember there's some person in the hip hop community that was like, famous for naming groups that became fucking megastars, and I forget who it was, but he named Silk Sonic.
See if you can find that. Dan,
Yeah, there's I forget, some legend that we know. The name escapes me.
Was it Thundercat or something like that?
No, some like OG, old, like, you know.
Like in hip hop.
Bootsy Collins?
Yeah.
Was it Bootsy?
Yeah. I think
It
so.
was Bootsy.
Because Bootsy's on the album too.
He's the intro.
Yes, correct.
Because
They
apparently
said-
he's
yeah.
named famous groups before.
He said they said the band was named by Bootsy Collins after he
Bang,
heard the
that's
album.
it. So it was
After
Bootsy,
he
my
heard
bad.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like they asked him, and he said he came up. I saw like a snippet from something, maybe it's on Instagram, and Bootsy had. Now that I know that it's Bootsy, he had 3 names, and he left it with them because they asked for his blessing. Could you name our group? And then he left
That's
them with
cool.
three names, and they picked that one out of the 3 he put on the table. And I don't think he's mentioned the other ones either, which is
Man, I hope he gets money for that.
quite probably chucking 5% on everything, or like maybe a bit more. Depends.
I like that. That's dope. Did you hear any of this stuff then, Dan? Do you have any
I
thoughts
didn't
on
hear
any
the
of this
actual
stuff?
album, but I heard obviously the single. And
Any thoughts
from
on the general...
what I've seen from the singles, the way Brad puts it is exactly what it is, just high res.
That's no strong, mate.
Oh,
Just
I actually
kidding.
thought I actually got your name wrong for a second.
You're like, oh my god.
I was like, wait, what? Notion. The way he put it.
It sounds like Greg, actually, mate.
Sorry, Greg.
You look like a great...
You do look like a Greg,
I
actually.
don't think so.
The way you put it was perfect. Basically, it's just a modern version of old school, like golden times classic music, but like a HD 4K.
You play
version
to
of
your
it.
grandma, but
Yeah.
like, you have to explain a few words.
True, but then if you show her the video, she'll probably say, "Oh, I've seen this before. I saw this 20 years ago." You know,
40 years ago.
40 years ago.
50
Sorry.
years ago.
Actually, you're right, because 71 is 50 years ago.
Fucking hell.
Men's do quick maths in it, like, you know.
Right? It's fucking old, mate.
Mhm.
Speaking of that, 1971, Tupac and Snoop were born in 1971. So Snoop turned 50
Wow.
this year,
Dang, fam.
and Tupac would have been 50. Speaking of Snoop, then to do a little bit of a segue, I've been listening to the Snoop episode of Joe Rogan. It came out, I think, yesterday or the day before.
Yo, look at this. I can't wait to see that shit. That's on my list of things to watch.
Have any
haven't seen
check
it.
that? Oh,
I saw a snippet, but I want to watch the whole thing, so I just like blocked it out from
Yeah.
my life because I want to like do the whole thing in one
I
session.
won't spoil anything. Snoop is fucking hilarious. So like he does some shit that you have to watch it. Like you can't just listen to this one. You have to watch it.
That's
And
Feel that.
it's what I did think. It's really cool to see him talk. It's interesting because Joe said normally Joe, like I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. I love his open conversations. He's raw. He says how he feels. He said that the people who he fucked with, like he loved as a kid, that's who make him nervous. And Snoop is one of those people.
Oh
And
wow.
The problem, I think, with that is that maybe he is too nervous and the conversation isn't as fluid as his other interviews.
If he is nervous.
If he,
Huh.
that's my guess, is if he doesn't look nervous and they're smoking cigars, smoking weed, drinking liquor or whatever, like they're really like, getting into it. But I feel like there was a lot of like missed opportunities for great questions. Like Snoop brought up that on Doggy Style he freestyled the Shiznit, which I didn't know, but I knew he freestyled
heard
G's
that.
and Hustlers.
Mm.
So like I'd love to know why the fuck did you freestyle 2 songs on the album? And they were pretty like when you think back and you listen to the lyrics and he does all those crutches that freestyle have, where it's like he just
The
keeps
same
spelling
words.
his
Yeah,
name and stuff like that. And they're nowhere near as lyrically thought out as these other songs on the project, but they're still pretty solid because I could not freestyle a 16-bar verse and make it on point. I don't know if he fixed it, if it was like one take or whatever, but yeah, just like a few little opportunities because Joe isn't like a hip hop fan like that.
That's
So
true.
and Snoop doesn't get to, you don't get conversations with Snoop sitting down for 3.5 hours or whatever it is.
Dude, so
that
long.
So I feel like I'm like 2/3 of the way through it, maybe. I'm just like plugging away. And it's great though. It's really entertaining and it's cool to see Snoop get his flower. Like Joe is just like showing so much love and it's great. And they're talking a little bit about
Perfect.
like, Park and Big and blah blah. And they keep talking about the East Coast, West Coast stuff like it's a big deal and that. And it's a bit
Dated?
yeah.
See, on
just,
YouTube,
like,
I can't find the whole thing. I can't find the whole thing in one go.
you have to watch it on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
You watch it on Spotify.
You watch. So I watch
So
it
that's
on
what I'm
my.
doing.
Correct.
I used to
So
watch it on YouTube on the powerful JRE.
They took it
on-
up. They took it down. They don't put up full
Anus.
episodes anymore. So basically here.
I noticed that. Okay, I'm fucking up then. All right.
So
I
when
got
you're
spots.
watching on Spotify, it actually brings
Gives
the
you a
video
hang.
up.
Oh, perfect. All right. That's where
So-
I'm going.
There you go. 2.5 hours in, I still got an hour and 16 to go, so it's almost 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Fucking hell,
So it's pretty dope. So that would be definitely worth checking out. The other thing was I'm thinking of Snoop. Sorry to keep bouncing around and just jump in and cut me off.
Do your thing.
Snoop mentions on the thing he's working with Def Jam now. I didn't actually see what he's doing, but I think it's like an executive role of some description. And he signed Benny the Butcher to his first major deal on Def Jam. Like this
exactly, it's like an A&R, but like a executive A&R. He's looking after artists, and that's the first person who decided to sign. I saw a tiny ass clip on Instagram, I guess, of him saying that because he's like, he's like the most fierce motherfucker out there with the pen right now, and he's like on everything, and he's consistent as shit. That's why I signed him. That's a good move.
Yeah, man. Love hearing that, and Benny deserved it. Benny waited. I know that Westside and Conway, they got the deal with who was that with? Shady.
Yeah,
they signed the Shady deal, and Benny didn't, and I don't know why. I can't remember. There's interviews
I
about
thought
it.
all of Griselda signed.
That's what everyone was saying, but Benny was the one who didn't sign. So this was his first one, and it's like it's actually better if you think about it. If they signed to Shady 2 years ago or so, Benny's like price gone up. So now Benny's able to get a much more equitable deal, just like Russ did. When Russ signed a deal with Capitol, Russ had already blown up off what they want, and I think Losing Control and a few other joints. And he was in such a strong position, it was like a 50-50 partnership as opposed to the artist taking 10, 20% or whatever it was.
And all the leverage.
And then exactly right. And then the deal finished, and then Russ now makes $1 million plus a month just off his streams. And he's releasing a new song a week. It's the most incredible position to be in. It's the most enviable thing in music, I think. And now Benny signed this. I probably you should only do like one album through the major, see how it goes. And that'll get his stock up again because you're leveraging their machine, their promo, their radio reach, all the things that he couldn't do before. Now, the interesting thing is, are they going to let him be him and do those, Alchemist beats with fucking no drums and all the weird shit that they do? Or are they going to make him do more, let's say poppier, that's not even a really good word, but, more accessible mainstream music? Don't know.
I feel like Def Jam will give him creative freedom.
Sure. Particularly if Snoop's in charge.
Yeah, sure.
If Snoop's watching over it,
Sure,
which is interesting. So I thought that was cool. The other interesting podcasts that I saw recently were the 2 episodes of Drink Champs with Kanye, or Ye.
Yeah, that was wild. Yeah,
everyone watch that?
I actually haven't seen it. I really wanted to watch it. But
okay. We won't spoil
why.
too much then. It's worth just chucking on in the background.
Yeah, 100.
It was probably, the first episode was a couple hours, and the second was like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
He was super chill. It was nice to hear. And it was nice because he hadn't said shit for 6 months, a month. Sorry, 6 months to a year. Like before Donda, he was wearing the masks and doing all the releases and not talking to the press, not doing nothing. So it was the first time we were like, oh, does Kanye even know that this is happening? And he knew everything that was going on. And that was pretty cool to see.
Okay.
The interesting shit that you probably all seen, even if you haven't seen it, was like he shat on a few of his close collaborators. He said
Soulja Boy.
Shockingly.
Soulja Boy.
Some big names.
Yes. He said Soulja Boy's verse was trash, which I think he kind of already said off, I think it was on Remote. And he took that off. He said signing Big Sean was the worst thing he ever did, but he didn't really explain why, though, right?
Why? Exactly. Yeah, it's just like a cheap shot in the dark. It's like not really backed up.
Yes. Speaking of that, he said that not Big Sean, Kweli, he never liked how Kweli rapped, even though he produced...
Why would you say that? I was like, I had my hands in the air, like, are you serious, cunt?
It seemed like he was...
Like, because there's a bunch of tracks, sorry, man, on like the Consequence tracks, like Kanye Consequence, early mixtape shit, there's a bunch of songs where he raps like Kweli and has particular flows with that, certain sort of cadence or whatever.
Like whack and dudes, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That song, yeah.
That's very similar. That's a good example, actually. It's probably the most obvious one.
Yeah, it's a great song.
There's a couple other ones or that mixtape era when Kanye was doing his, little movie-esque sort of sample beat shit, motherfuckers. Like that was crazy. So that was like really off-putting. He's a weird cunt when he was saying that shit. Also, I guess he's been on so many, just big tracks with him. Like, why would you say that?
That's really good
There's
question.
bunch of posse tracks and like a cut something like that. They've been on together. Like they both on 2 words. Was that most?
No, it was most, but they did the remix for Get By with
There was
Jay and
Get By.
Busta.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they've done enough tracks together. Why don't you say that? It's such a it's a country thing to do. It's like didn't sit well. So I definitely had arms up for that shit.
Yeah, that was pretty strange. Kweli shot back and wrote a whole bunch of stuff and shared a bunch of photos from the last couple months when he'd been with Kanye like 3 times and everything was cool and he'd hung out with him and Don C and a bunch of other people and stuff. So it was.
Noriega was putting drinks in his face and making him smoke. Well, not making.
That
him
was
smoke,
the other
really
thing. Correct.
Encouraging him. Nori's like a sloppy host, bro. We've talked about this before. But this one was
EFN's the MVP.
Definitely, of course. And he drinks craft beer too, so he's definitely the OG.
Got to.
Big up. So, Nori was a bit sloppy, and he kind of was like had Kanye's cock in his mouth the whole time. It was definitely a different approach from Nori, and I wasn't here for it.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't optimal. Kweli said that when he waited, Kanye came to his house to pick up 88 keys and to go eat.
The
and
producer.
He invited, the producer, and he invited Kweli. And then he was telling him, he's like, man, I have a big drinking problem. My butler brings me Grey Goose in the morning when I wake up, and I'm trying to chill out. But then he was pounding shots and going pretty nuts on Drink Champs as well, and smoking, which was a little strange. And then the other one that he dissed was John Legend because he didn't vote for him in the presidential thing.
Oh.
That's because he said, conspiring against him, which is not exactly true. It was a bit of an exaggeration. I guess his butt hurt, but I get it because he's, his buddies. Like, yeah, that's just some fucked up shit.
Yeah, man, it was a little strange with the way that sort of he approached it, but at the same token, I can't help it. I'm a Kanye stan. I know he's like, you have to give him the leeway for who he is because he's not going to be anything but who he is. So you got to kind of think of it like, okay, well. He's he has a mental illness. He has bipolar, and he could say some fucking wild ass shit
and whatever else
all of that. Raps. But it was just cool to hear him talk about stuff. He wasn't as like absurdly like I am a god, I'm Walt Disney. He didn't do any of that stuff really. So I felt like he was in like a pretty good place. Which is I can deal with that because it's Kanye. Because to me, there's nothing he.
It definitely wasn't crazy. It wasn't off the rails.
No. But he addressed that.
You said in a text to me he felt lucid and like connected with certain points when he was on his shit, when he had his points, like his cards aligned, everything was fine. Yeah, but he said some funny shit, but he was mostly good, and I agree. That's a good point.
And he was talking about how he doesn't have a house anymore. His house is his purse.
And that was really funny.
Which is cool. Which I guess he could just go to any hotel, if he's worth $9 billion. I mean, it has to have $9 billion.
He was speaking to the point, like, he's made relationships in every city that he goes to because of his touring and because of his business and all the bullshit. And he's just like, I can go anywhere because I go everywhere all the time and I've built these relationships over time. But also people recognize this motherfucker and, he's got beds everywhere. He's got businesses, and he doesn't have to bring clothes or drawers anywhere. And he said he went to Balenciaga. Remember, he's saying, he went there just to get some drawers, and then into some undies, mate. We should do undies. Undies is Aussie slang, mate. Fucking undies, Dax.
Right, that's a good one.
Undies, as in underwear.
Yeah,
not undercover police.
And he'd sidestep to like budgie smugglers and shit.
Oh, you don't call them undies? That's weird.
No, because undies are your underpants, so you would never call an undercover cop an undie. That's pretty funny.
We call them undies.
An undercover. Wow,
that's what we say. That's what we say in England. We call them undies.
I mean, look, it makes sense. It's kind of ridiculous, but it makes sense. Oh god.
Honestly, that's fuck.
That's pretty funny.
That's piss funny.
I enjoy that.
I love that.
Wow.
That's another way to diss the cops. It's like they call them undies because like they support your balls and your arsehole in it. Like
exactly
arseholes.
that.
They're a bunch of cunts.
Hilarious. So that was the Kanye shit anyway. What else we want to fucking talk about here? Dan, I know we've been like going through a bunch of our stuff.
Yes.
Do you have any shit? I know you had a couple other different things you want to chat about and come back to these lists here.
Yeah, we can go. We can stick to the topic of Kanye.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Now
Grab a
the...
drink back in a sec.
Yeah, mate.
All right, do your thing.
Does he need to hear this?
He does, but it's fine. He can come back on that.
You can come back.
But now the CLB and Donda have had time to marinate, both in the mainstream now.
Mm-hmm.
Which album's better and why?
Donda. For sure. Hands down.
I don't know.
I feel like it's just a we have to tell Nosh to mute his mic.
Oh my god, what's he doing?
Yeah.
He's fucking throwing.
Oh, it's because he's making a gin. He was drinking a gin as opposed to he has a beer. If he has a beer, he just has the cans there and he just cracks them.
So he's
Because
actually
he's making a
it.
gin, he has to get the ice out and you gotta
Okay.
pour it and you're gonna get the can.
I was rummaging through his eyes.
Would have sounded stuff. To be honest, I always forget there's one really bad podcast I had with BOS where I felt, if it's probably hearing me.
Oh no, I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen that. I remember that.
And I was...
I think Dad was on it. Like, Dad
No,
was watching.
I was watching, yeah, I was watching.
I still haven't...
In other place.
Yeah.
Like, ah!
Yeah. But I still... Like, I was annoyed at the situation. I kept spilling beer on myself, and I did it like twice, and I keep forgetting that I could mute it. And I was walking back through the kitchen. We have obviously tiled floors in the kitchen. And I had the towel from like mopping up, and I was annoyed. And I was wearing socks that I guess were a little wet because I'd stepped in the beer that spilled. And instead of just like gently throwing the little washcloth I was doing, I threw it really hard at the sink. But as I was continuing, I didn't stop, throw it, and do it. I did it as I was walking to go and get changed because I was covered in beer. And I fell full force with my underarm on the corner of, like, I have a wine fridge in the kitchen, and my underarm, like, at my full body weight, at full force, went and smacked it, and then I just fell right on the floor and hit my arm, knee, hip, all on the floor, and I was just completely winded and put aside. I had, like, yellow bruises and shit, and the whole thing was, like, cut up. Like, I couldn't really put my arm down, and this was, like, just before the summer? Was it winter?
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember.
It was
Either way.
What do you got, mashers?
Yeah, we're just
Yeah.
talking about, because
You cut
you're...
yourself?
When you got
When
beat
you-
up in Montreal.
Yeah, when I got beat
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
You should mute your audio when you go do the ice because it just sounded like boom, 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 like it just had so much
I'm so
noise.
sorry.
It's okay, and I was explaining that I didn't mute my shit and I fucked myself up, and then you hear me screaming. So I was just telling that story because it's kind of funny.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So and I was telling Dan because you had gin. He wasn't here when we started talking. So because you got gin, you got to get the ice out. You got to get the thing out. You're picking something up. Whereas beer, you just have them next to you, and you're like, crap, pour. 2
Yeah, I'm
seconds.
so sorry about that.
Oh, very
It's
sorry.
okay, you're forgiven.
So Dan, can you want to re-ask? Because I deflected a bit and told that story because I was
Okay.
waiting for you to come back, so I wouldn't answer the question without you here as well. You know, see that?
I like that.
That's
Genius.
pro hosting right
Genius, you.
there. Done this a few
Genius.
times. You know?
So now CLB and Donda have had time to marinate in the mainstream. Everyone's listened to it. We can actually give actual opinions on it.
Yes.
Which album is better and why?
So I was saying no, unless you want to go first, but I think Donda is the better album.
I agree. I need to listen to them both again, but like I thought Donda was more impactful for me. I love like, you know, there's a bit more energy and shit. There's obviously like a bunch of bangers on the CLB, but
Yeah.
I just don't know because CLB needed time to grow on me. It was when I first heard it, it was like meh, like it's not nothing that I ain't heard before. But then now I've listened to both of the albums multiple times.
How many times do you think you've listened to? And this is an interesting question because growers.
Yeah.
Like Frank Ocean's channel's Orange
Yeah.
was a grower.
Mhm.
I fucking hated that album at first, and now
Mhm.
I can absolutely
Really, eh?
recognize it. Dude, I detested it, and it was now it's got to be
Interesting.
top 10 R&B soul,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
soul albums of all time.
Mhm.
So I'm all for growers. Like I probably listened to Drake maybe like between Tiff and I like 5 times maybe.
Mhm.
We put it on, and there's not many albums that I give that much of a try. If it wasn't for Drake, like artists don't get that chance, right?
Mhm.
We're only going to give Drake a bunch of tries because he's Drake. But if like my album doesn't hit and people don't like it off the rip, then they're not going to come back and listen to it again. You're just not going to do
Yeah,
it.
you're right.
So Drake is very fortunate. He's one of very few people who people will continue to listen
Mhm.
to see how it goes. So with that said, how many listens did it take you to start to think,
It took me
"Fuck,
more
than 5?
more than that. Because then what I see is Donda has better individual songs. I think Off the Grid is
Impeccable.
it would be one of the best songs of CLB. So
Yeah,
would Praise
fire.
God. So would Keep My Spirit Alive. Jonah. But then I think as a project, as a whole, because I don't think Donda has a better lineup than these songs back to back.
So a run,
a
multi-track
run where it's Fair Trade with Travis Scott, Way Too Sexy with Future and Young Thug, TSU, Into Deep with Future, Pipe Down, and all of them songs back to back. Donda doesn't have songs back to back, a run like that on Kanye's album Donda, sorry, because it has good individuals. I'd say from Off the Grid to Jonah, great four tracks there.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I can skip a few. You'll probably listen to Junior. Oh, one song I really love now, the Lauryn Hill sample, the Believe What I Say. That's one of my favorite songs in this album.
24 is
so
crazy.
good.
That's fire.
So
Moon
good.
is dope.
But then, yeah, I feel like there's more things I would skip on this album than I would on
There's
Drake's.
too much filler. I will agree that
There's
this is
so
nearly
much filler,
2 hour
yeah.
album.
True.
How long is Drake's album? Does it say that?
Significantly less, yeah, it will.
This is 20. It's like 27 songs or something on Donda.
An hour and 26 minutes.
This is hour 48, so it's only 22 minutes longer actually.
Oh.
When you think about that, they're both way too fucking long. I
Yes.
understand why they're doing
Way
it
too
to
long.
get Billboard, to get streams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an interesting point. Even if you could, man, I'd have to listen to it because I don't remember all the songs. Because I wish it was 12 songs. That
Yeah,
were just
oh,
fire,
yeah,
and then
100%,
I'd remember
100%.
all of them, but I don't remember
But then-
27 fucking songs. Like,
They're just not. I just don't think there's a run in Kanye's in the album where.
so that is important enough to you to make.
Yes, yeah. Because I feel like all these songs are debatably. Anyone could tell me one of these songs are the best. Like Puppy's Home, Fair Trade. You can tell me they are the best song on CLB, and I would find it hard to disagree. Into Deep is my favorite song, but then if someone told me No Friends in the Industry is my favorite, I'd be like, okay, fair enough. Like that's not wild to me. But then I feel like there's less filler in this one, and I feel like back to back, there's a much better run than on Donda, which I also really love. But then I feel like there's individual songs in Donda, Praise
Okay.
God, Hurricane, Off the Grid,
Yeah.
which beat almost every song on CLB, or could be the
Interesting.
best song if it was on CLB.
Hmm.
That is where I stand.
I think that's a really good criticism, though. I think that's a really good way to look at it, as far as
Mhm.
like, it's the accumulation of these songs all together
Yes,
that's actually
exactly.
more impactful than those individual
Mhm.
joints.
Mhm.
Also, both of them, yeah, they're much too clunky and they have so much filler. There's so
Mhm.
many songs you could cut off both.
Yes.
You can probably make them both a solid 10 to 12 songs
100%,
album,
100%.
easily.
100%.
I mean, I guess it depends, because if you think about Drake stuff, this album, okay, think of it like this. To me, and this is why I think it's better. I was talking to Tiff about this the other day, because she was playing Madonna's song Frozen.
Mhm.
And then I was telling her, Brad, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the 90s party where we wore the flannel?
Absolutely.
Of course you would. Now, we were on Bickies, something we called
Yes.
Bickies. We were on MDMA that night, and you and the other boys and Theory and Mike went out for a smoke or something, and me and Tommy stayed inside. The DJ played Secret by Madonna, and me
Oh,
and
wow.
Tommy lost our fucking shit. Like, I don't
Yeah,
even
you guys-
remember that
We
song.
wouldn't stop talking about it for the rest of the night. It
Correct.
was fire. Yeah.
Because the bass line, it was like, who the fuck listens to
Magical.
Madonna? Like, we are not her demo. We do not listen to Madonna. We were children at her
Pretty
peak.
good sample for beats, but like it's not we generally listen to.
Correct. So, what was my fucking whole point about this? I kind of lost my thing. Oh, okay, cool.
Bicky's,
Sorry.
the sample.
Bicky's
song.
sample, and listening to Madonna. Now, and I was talking to Tiff, and I was like, well, one thing about Madonna, there's very few artists like her. You could probably argue Rihanna, you could probably argue like Kylie Minogue, like, there was a few other, like, fuck, who am I thinking of? I don't know if it was Lady Gaga or like, Mariah or something like that, where they make an album that every single album they do, there's this whole new theme, visually, sonically, different sounds, different themes that run through that project. So if you think of Kanye, College Dropout, soul beats. He was the return of the chipmunk soul in that, and he's talking really specifically about just his very relatable life, his cousin in jail and trying to come up and be the producer. He'd already had some success at that point, but that's what that was about. Then Late
Perspective,
Registration. Exactly. Late Registration had a much more restrained theme. It still had the soul samples, but it had more hits on it. It had, what's the Lupe one? Touch the Sky, which was still like a soul sample, but then they had a bunch of other joints, the one with, why am I having Adam Levine? What's that
Levine.
called? What's that song called? Jesus Christ. You know what I'm talking about. I didn't even like that
Tomorrow
song.
Today.
No, Heard Him Say? Heard Him Say.
Yeah.
There you go. So it had those joints, right? Then you go Graduation. Then it's got the futuristic, the teddy bear's now a cartoon.
Yeah, the Japanese artist did that.
Exactly. Was that Takashi Murakami? I think it might have been.
There you go. Thanks. Get it back.
Right, but then that had stronger. It had these electronic sounds. He sampled Daft Punk. He had
futuristic.
Thank you, neon. Great word for it. He had power. He had these rich, luxurious songs that Rick Ross came to be known for as luxury rap. Then you went on to 808s and Heartbreak. He essentially made, like T-Pain started it with autotune.
He changed the way autotune got used.
Correct. Well, in a broader sense for rappers, because T-Pain could sing. He was a singer using it to do some shit. But Kanye was the first guy who couldn't sing, making an album where he only sings.
But he also made instruments his voice too. A lot of that is the guitar on those things. It's his voice through autotune. Did it on Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yes, he did.
A bunch.
Right, exactly. So he did that, changed the game. Sparse production too. Like, Say You Will is so brilliant in its simplicity. Then you move on to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, one of the greatest albums literally of all time. It's an epic fucking Jumbotron arena album with just incredible choruses and these really epic, like Runway and stuff with the intro with the single key, and then the end where he's doing the talk box thing. It wasn't even auto-tune, it's like a different effect where it sort of made his voice like a guitar, what you were talking about. Then he's, so on. And then Pablo, even where he did the first time, he was like replacing songs, and it was a bit more auto-tune, but in a future way, on like Father Stretch My Hands and stuff, and he bringing in Designer, so it's a bit more new. These newer artists that had a different sound to him. And you could, Yeezus had this industrial, electronic, almost aggressive guitar metal type of vibe. Point being, they're all so different. So Kanye's the type of dude that every album is an event in and of itself because they're all so different. Drake has essentially made variations of the same album for most of his career, give or take. It's probably a bit of a sweeping statement that comes to shit on me for. But in comparison, Kanye has made these statement pieces with every project.
Art pieces. And Drake's making music for the stats.
Drake is making Instagram.
He made Tootsie fucking slide for TikTok to get some numbers to get his whole shit to pop because that adds to the those because he had that album on. Sorry, that song on that album that just boosted it up fucking couple of milli because it already got huge success from whatever it had before. So
yes,
check that on the album. Then all of a sudden,
that was a Scorpion, right?
Yeah.
Which one? The
Tootsie Slide.
it was on Dark Lane Demo Tapes.
Right. So look, obviously, I'm a huge Drake fan. We've been fans of Drake since comeback season. So this is not taking away from him, but you can't put him in the same.
He's playing a fucking numbers game, and Kanye's making more art.
I would say that's really what it is. Drake is going for the hits and everything, and his production sound, like the sound of CLB, is so similar to Scorpion, and so similar to Views, and so similar to whatever the fuck was before that. I feel like it doesn't have the same impact because it just feels like Kanye, like it or not, he's taking risks. He's swinging for the fences. He's got now bringing the gospel. He did the Jesus album. I didn't even mention that. I forgot to even go. He made a gospel album for fuck's sake, and then he took elements of that gospel album and then brought it back. With I think it's Come to Life, and then Jesus Lord. And then all these songs. So there's still elements of the God stuff in there with these beautiful, literal 100-person choirs he does Sunday sessions with
that shit.
every time. Sunday session? Is that what it's called?
Sunday session.
Yeah.
Service. Sunday service. I guess you guys see what I'm saying,
Kanye
right?
transcends music, is what you mean. Right?
And also then you got the fashion stuff. Once again, I'm a stan. I'm very biased, so I got to admit that. But looking at just the music, at what this individual has done, because Jay-Z hasn't done what Kanye's done. Nas hasn't done what Kanye's done. I can't think of another rapper, another MC, forget that he's a producer, just another MC that has done it the way he's done it, because he's approached it like a pop star, like Madonna or something. I think Madonna was probably the biggest person I can think of who did that. Every album is so different. And I really respect that a lot. Even though she isn't my vibe, that's what I'm thinking. So that's why CLB to me is a little bit less impressive, because it's the same as the last shit, which was the same as the last shit. Listening to it made me feel like, oh, is it 3 years? What year is this from? Is this from this year, or is that the last one? I don't know.
How long ago did you make this song, kind of thing?
Exactly, and we know he only started it last year, unless some of them were leftovers from another time or whatever, which can happen.
Kanye wrote floor things.
Well, Kanye wrote Hurricane years ago. Like, he has the poem handwritten. He then wrote it for the hook for Kim, and she has it framed up and stuff. And like, that was an old ass song, so he keeps bringing stuff back. So there's nothing wrong with recycling, but he still brought these older songs into this newer fucking thing. And they're about to drop a deluxe version. I saw a title tweeted it today.
Oh.
So I don't know when. Maybe it comes this Friday.
Yeah.
Or it's come whenever fuck Kanye wants it to.
Whenever, yeah.
But yeah, that would be my reasoning why I think it's still a superior album, because that matters to me. That approach matters. The art of making an album in the way that Kanye does it, and then also being unorthodox, living in the fucking... that's why he was living in the stadium, because he didn't have a house. So that kind of all makes sense now. You're like, oh, that's why you fucking stayed in that jail cell ass room in the bottom of the football stadium. So like, all of these things all make more sense because of that interview. And it was just such an impeccable rollout, whereas CLB was this disjointed thing. I don't even remember if there was a single he dropped beforehand. I think it was like, he mentioned it, supposed to come end of last year.
Yeah.
Then he said January 3rd or whatever it was. Then he fucked his Achilles, and then he's like, nah, it's going to come later, and didn't even give a date. So he had these, like, just kept pushing it off after hyping it up, so that I think he almost shot himself in the foot, no Tory Lanez, for pushing it off the way that he did. So I think that also affected the approach, because it was so hyped. Look, Donda was hyped too, because Kanye was yapping about that, and then he kept changing his mind and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, he's an eclectic, eccentric motherfucker who's going to do that. But anyway, that's an extremely long-winded...
No, I get you, but it's a good segue, because I actually have this thing that we can do right now. I have a list of 4 artists. I'm going to give you 10 seconds so you can actually think of your response. You have to rank them 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the categories I'm going to give you. Both of you. Yeah?
That's fun.
Cool.
Yes. Love it.
Number 1.
Yes.
So the artists are Jay-Z, Kanye, Drake, and Eminem.
Okay.
Cool. First one, most influential.
Most
We have
influential.
10 seconds to answer.
Is there really quick, is there most influential in any specific way, or just
period
period of the culture?
Period. Like, of the culture. Like,
Jay-Z, well, a good thing of top in the order. Jay, Kanye, Eminem, and Drake.
Oh.
And why?
And
I want to
why?
know why, for example, why Jay-Z would be above someone else, or why Kanye would be below someone else, for example.
Wow, that's a real tough one.
Jesus.
Okay, I got my order then. I could probably say Jay, just like Nosh, I agree. I think Jay coined a lot of terminology. Got off the shoulder, 99 Problems. There's a bunch of other things I know I'm definitely forgetting.
The crossover between, like, funk and R&B and rap. He rapped over funky R&B beats. Jay-Z did like things first. He was rapping over different kinds of, soul samples before other people. He had like a different string of production or producers at his, disposal. So I think he was just more rounded and had more shit to do,
That's a good point, because he came out first out of all of these dudes, and he was the
Like
one who
Song
brought
Cry,
Kanye on. Yeah.
And like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, forget that. Go back to even the Dynasty album. Because
okay,
This
cool.
Can't Be
So,
Life,
yeah.
which was the first. No, you are correct, but there's even one album before that he was doing in 2000 with a bunch of tracks. So you're right. You're 100% right. He brought those sounds out. Who was your number 2 then, Nosh?
Oh shit. Probably Kanye.
I had Kanye as well.
Just like, the production element is huge. He started a resurgence of soul-based boom bap and hip hop, sort of like going on through every sort of circle, and then kind of evolved from there. But like, just like the just me and the producers that I know, and you see, like, he just opened the door to so many different things to just listen to and sample from, and like just open the door for us to explore the soul genres and the subgenres of that. Blues, funk, soul, rock, all the shit, and neo soul, all the different, like, stems. It's mind blowing how many because like just listening to his beats, and then a nerd like me would go to like whosampled.com and find out Ninth Wonder, Alchemist. I'd be googling Just Blaze, all these motherfuckers, just to see what they're listening to and what they're sampling, and then it just people that I was messing with, like Durban Poison back in Australia, like showing me all kinds of crazy records and shit. Like that just changed the game. No one else does that shit, bro.
I would agree. And if he did that to us, imagine how many other people that he affected.
Oh.
I remember because he's the reason we make the music that we make. He
100%.
was exactly what you said. Him doing the soul stuff is why we make the music that we make, and he's the reason why we rap how we rap. I think that he gave us a way to not, you can just be yourself, and he made it okay to just be yourself and not have to be hard, and not have to be hood, and not have to talk about violence, or not have to do shit.
True.
Even though
there were to be cool.
There were other rappers that were doing that, but Kanye made it in a to be honest, in like a suburban kind of way that appealed to many more people. I'm like, fuck, man, I can just talk about my shit and just be me. I don't have to try and do nothing else. So I say, and then also all the things we talked about before, the pioneering the use of auto-tune, and all the different things he did first of these epic stadium albums, and change, even just small things like on Graduation, the glasses, the fashion. Like, Jay was one of the first moguls alongside Puff who had, he went and got his own label and stuff, and he was into Rockaware in the 90s. Ownership, thank you. And doing things for himself. He couldn't get the deals, went and did it himself.
Yeah.
Then he's just been doing all these other things. That's why he's a billionaire. So Kanye and Jay could probably almost be equal, really. But I don't know, I guess Jay has had a solid 5 years plus before Kanye, maybe longer.
Plus he brought Kanye on. So.
Plus he put Kanye on.
Yeah,
So you kind of even Kanye will probably say that. Maybe.
He also says, Kanye on the Drink Champs, he's like, I can't, he's the boss.
He's the boss.
He refers to Jay as the boss. So like, I mean, that's the, he's always
says it
gonna,
all.
Tip the hat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. What about
Big Brother? Like that song Big Brother is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So,
What about third?
Who was it?
Eminem or Drake? I know.
I think Drake's got the longevity, but Eminem, like in the short term, was super influential with suburban white America and everywhere else in the world that has, suburban white cunts. He was a reason for a huge uprising, white rappers and, all kinds of shit going on. So a big influence there, but like, as far as I don't know,
It's tough, man.
Yeah,
I would almost say that the equal, just like you could almost call that, because what you said. If it wasn't for Eminem, there's a whole group of people who never wanted to listen to hip hop because they didn't see themselves in their music. So I think that is worth a fucking lot because that's expanded the reach. For everybody. Every single artist benefits off what Eminem laid the groundwork for.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of them. Some of them Eminem stands just listen to Eminem and maybe other white rappers. That's pretty whack to me.
That's fine.
If it introduced these people to hip hop music.
Eminem was the first white rapper I knew for years.
Yeah,
well, was the only
one.
Like,
except for like Vanilla Ice in the 80s. But
but I didn't really like
the actual good one that could.
Good one. Who was like probably, he has to be in everyone's top 5, top 10 conversation. Then Drake, though, made it cool to sing and rap. But even though other people had done it before, he did it in a way that no one else. Him and 40 changed the sound of music. Like he almost Drake is.
Like the girl tracks.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
You'd speak about,
and the cloud rap. Like that sort of like, like the beat is underwater. Like they took what Kanye did and took it in a different direction and made it more chill. And
put that filter all the things out. Yeah, right.
The filter.
There you go.
But then Eminem was like the first one to do like funny type rap as well. Like Dirty Dozen, D12 and them. And
controversial.
Controversial. Like I don't think Tyler Creator would have been as big as he was if it wasn't.
No chance.
For people like Eminem, doing that shit.
There's a bunch of name dropping. Like I think The Game is probably the king of name dropping as far as like trying to get publicity from talking shit. Eminem hugely borrowed that, if not coined it himself. But like rappers like that, Eminem, The Game, Ludacris even as well. Like people just name drop the fuck out of like huge celebrities, investors, business owners, moguls. Like that was a huge. Like I remember everybody there was always a massive name drop in every song because like they wanted to get a wow factor. Like someone would talk shit about Paris Hilton or some other fucking socialite celebrity dickhead, like whatever, just to get some like I don't know, some sort of like buzz traffic because they talk about that shit.
Mhm.
That was a huge like early 2000s move. I'm pretty sure. Even Nelly said that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Then like product placement became the big horror and hip hop or more like rap specifically. Everyone's just talking about specific brands, bottles, clothes, because they were getting paid to do it. That was like more of a thing. But sorry, random side.
No, you're right.
In there.
It's a real tough one though because they all four of these individuals have changed the game in different ways, in like massive different ways. Not even like a little bit. So even ranking in influence is really
it's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
So like it's no disrespect to any of them.
Mhm.
I feel like you could probably if it was a different group of people, it's like Drake would beat everybody at all times.
Yeah.
Everything. No one else has been as on top for as
Mhm.
long as him except for maybe Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we could do. I've got another one, which
keep
might
going.
be easier.
Unless you want to add yours. You want to
mine would have probably been the same, except me. It's hard. The Drake and Eminem one really torn between.
Really hard. Yeah,
really torn between because I went for a period of my life where Eminem was my favorite by far, and now I'm in the period of my life where Drake is my favorite by far. So it's very, very difficult. And I think they both had long-term influence on the way I listen to music and who I listen to as well. So it's very difficult. I don't know for myself, but the top two are definitely Jay and Kanye, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. Best lyricist between them four.
I would say J, M, Kanye, but not recently, and then Drake.
Jay over Eminem.
Ooh.
Yes, I think Jay-Z is. If I'm really, really, really honest, like he's not even in my top 5 because I think that's kind of boring, but he should be. I don't think anyone's a better rapper than Jay-Z. I don't think anyone's ever rapped better than Jay-Z. Period across the board. But he's underset. You got to realize he's not. Eminem was in your face more, faster, louder. Jay is a bit more chill, and you have
more
to
aggressive, more controversial.
I learn stuff off Reasonable Doubt almost every time I listen to him. Like, oh, that's what he says. Like, it's insane.
Dude, I listened to the Black Album today.
No.
Even a couple of lines, even today, dude, after listening to it so many fucking times, like I wrapped my tits off in the lounge room. And there's still a couple of lines I was like, oh shit. Like, cause I'm old as fuck now. Things just poke out a little more. Like, it's like watching an old Simpsons episode. You always grab a little something from it. Like, honestly, Jay-Z is like the Matt Groening of rap. Ooh. Is that good or is that?
I think that's good. I think that's good.
I feel like it would
weird?
require some conversation, as in like, yeah, it's weird for sure. But I see what you're saying. As in like on paper, if you just saw that, you'd be like, what? But when
fuck, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Maybe that should be the episode now.
This nose dog had too many gins. What a dickhead.
Hey mate, gin gets you. No, I like what you're thinking. That album, I bought it on vinyl recently. It was running that, and I was like, Jesus Christ! Like that album.
Jesus.
For you and me, like listening to that, I really remember like that was probably around the studio time for Soul District, so we were listening to that shit. And in 03, and like like even just like on what more can I say, when he starts like just do when he starts sort of like just almost like talking slow, he's just explaining stuff and in just his most incredible ways. I've just never heard anything
very
like it.
Conversational.
So I think technically
he done that on Story of OJ.
Yeah,
he done that.
I feel like
he wasn't really rapping.
444 is just beautiful album.
Just talking, but to the beat, which is really weird.
But that's what he always did. But I think he did it better back in the day. I'm obviously biased because that was a formative time when we were listening to those things. But he hasn't lost it though. That's the thing. He's never like, oh, that was whack. Like you might like things better, whatever. But I just think Jay has to be. I think Eminem is like obviously one of the technically greatest rappers of all time. I just think Jay-Z's better. I don't know how else to explain it.
It's difficult. I think Eminem's top for me in terms of lyrics, being a better lyricist. I just don't know.
I think you probably won't. And to be fair, I don't know if you've had the same exposure.
I haven't had the
Jay-Z's
same exposure to Jay-Z. That's also a big thing. So maybe I'm not in the place to answer it.
No, everyone can have their own though.
True.
Anyone's objectively right, but I don't think it's really. I don't think anyone can actually argue that Jay-Z is not the best rapper of all time. I just don't think it's possible.
I think the level of difficulty that Eminem shows is a wow factor because he's a wordsmith in a way that Jay-Z isn't, because Jay-Z's more fluid and like, but he has, he has his, schemes within the schemes, and it's very liquid and fluid. I guess more fluid is the way to go. But Eminem is more jagged and like you can literally like feel the cuts and the way that he raps is very jagged and fast. And if you listen right, you can actually count the syllables with him. Jay-Z is more of you can move your body with it. Eminem's more of a fucking, hey, going on a rough track. But like, it depends. He's more of a machine gun rapper, and Jay-Z's more of a fluid, just smoother and more of a conversational rapper. And Eminem is majority more aggressive. That's the main difference, but they're both incredible wordsmiths, but they get it out differently. One's smoother than the other, and it's a personal preference whether you like listening to jagged, fast, aggressive wordplay, or if you want something smooth and fluid to bounce to over the appropriate beat that kind of mimics that. And that's the difference between Jay-Z and Eminem.
Fucking well said. That was brilliant. Well fucking said. That was great. Let me give that a plug. Keep clapping. There we go. What up? You know what, bro? I can't add anything to that, because that is why I think people would say that Eminem is better than Jay, and that's really what it comes down to.
Right up.
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
There's a wow factor to it as well, because like, if you're a poet, you would appreciate Jay-Z more than Eminem, even though you'd also appreciate Eminem, but it's more of like a skitty bop, boop, 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 boop. It's like it's punching it in your fucking ear hole, whereas Jay-Z will like, will wet it first and then put it in. It's a different.
Very, very different. And then if you...
Yes.
Oh, man, I'm going to stop talking.
I love it. Then if you look at Kanye and Drake, I think Kanye's a brilliant lyricist. I think he's underrated as fuck. He is my personal GOAT I have because of what the impact he had on me at the time that I got into it and what it did for me. I moved by his music more than almost anything else on the planet. But I think he's an underrated rapper, and if you look at Drake, I think Drake is extremely underrated, and Drake is influenced so heavily by Kanye, and that's why you and me fucked with Drake from the beginning, because we're like, he raps like Kanye, exactly. He raps like Kanye and Fonte. My two goats are Kanye and Fonte, and Drake tries to rap like them. And that, to me, is why I think we've loved Drake from the beginning, and I've always appreciated it, and I think he's dope, but I think because he came after him, he'll just have to be fourth. I think you could argue the other top three. I don't think Kanye should be better than Jay or Eminem. For me, he's my favorite, but I'm not saying he's technically a better lyricist. He's just my GOAT. And I think you have to differentiate between that. And it's an interesting one. The GOAT conversation is such an interesting one. Let's go. Do you have
variables?
Did you add sort of yours too? So many.
So yeah, for me, it would be... But it's difficult because obviously I ain't had the same exposure to Jay-Z, but obviously I still think Eminem top, Jay-Z second.
Yep.
And I think Drake third.
Have you had the same exposure to Kanye's catalog? Though?
Yes, yeah, I have.
But then that's fair.
It's very difficult. There are bars which stuck to me which Kanye said, and same with Drake. So it's very different. There's a big battle for first and second, a big battle for third and fourth.
Yep.
So not to say any of them. Fourth isn't shit. Fourth is still amazing. So
particularly with that lineup.
So yeah, it's still difficult. But I might put Drake over Kanye. I think.
Okay. That's fair.
I think. Another one.
Yep.
Best discography.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's Kanye, Jay, Drake, Eminem. Eminem's discography is way too. It's got too many weak albums in it.
Yeah.
Eminem. What did I say?
Drake was third.
Drake was
Kanye,
third.
Jay, Drake, Eminem.
Drake, Eminem. Okay, so if I start from the bottom, do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Honestly, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's discuss. So I think Eminem has... Sorry, who did I put last? Eminem, right?
Eminem.
So sorry.
But I might swap Drake and Jay because I haven't listened to Jay's everything from Jay. So
if you go Eminem at the bottom, then that we all agree on, he's just Infinite, 2 Underground. But you look at Slim Shady, you look at Marshall Mathers, and then Eminem Show, like that 3 album run, almost
Disgusting.
Untouchable in hip hop, like one of the most
untouchable.
untouchable 3 album runs of all time. Then if I say Drake, I think Drake has had way too many average albums. I really do. We listened to them when we had the car that day.
Yes.
It's a solid B+ kind of thing.
Yeah, sometimes even less for me. Like listening back to
Less.
Scorpion or Views, there were some songs I did forget about. Oh, okay, this
That's,
hits. All right,
Straight
this
up and
hits.
down, eh? Yeah.
And I just think, but I think there's been too many albums that were like clogged up with filler. Obviously, like you were saying earlier, Nosh, about he's about money and doing things to that. So I think he just fills the album with songs because they're going to get plays. So you might as well just keep the longer you can keep them listening, the better. Rather than making it short and repeat listens, you just make them long and just go through the whole thing. So then we have that for Drake. I think when he hits, it's fucking A1. But I think the only album that Drake has, it's not even an album, mixtape is So Far Gone. And the best album by far would be Nothing Was the Same. That's essentially a perfect album. Then More Life would probably be the next closest, I think.
I think Views is up there for me. I think Views is the most underrated Drake album. So good.
I'm sure probably you'd have to listen to it again.
Good, yeah.
But I still think he's had too many weak spots.
Oh, What Time to Be Alive as well, sorry.
Okay, yeah,
Apologies.
definitely disagree
Yes.
on that one. But or what's the other one? If You're Reading This is great.
If You're Reading This too. Yeah, it's quite good.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on Drake stuff, but that's what I feel about Drake. It's like or if you want to argue between Jay and Drake being second or third.
I'm happy with Jay being second because you guys have listened to him probably as much as, well, probably more than just Drake. We've also listened to everything from Drake, so
yes.
So yeah.
But even to be fair, like Jay's got some sort of patchy albums. Magna Carta was pretty average. Kingdom Come was pretty average. I didn't like Volume 1 in my lifetime, Volume 1, and 2, and 3. That whole 3 album I didn't really love. I loved a few songs on each, but I think Volume 1 is much better than I give it credit for. But then he started to get mainstream.
That had the singles on it, didn't it? A bunch of singles.
Which one? Volume 1?
Yeah.
Volume 1 had like Imaginary Player. It had Sunshine. No, that was Volume. You're thinking Volume 2. So Volume 2, exactly that. Hard Knock Life is that the Annie? That was the Annie one. What was it? Anything was on that album. I think Money Cash Hose was on that. It was that real like jiggy Jay-Z album, 98.
Yeah, the Jermaine Dupri.
Jermaine Dupri era. Yep. So Jay had that was weak. And even Volume 3 had like some really great songs on there as well. But like that had Big Pimpin' on it, I think, as far as the big singles. Like, I forgot what it's called. The Cough Up Alone, Where I'm From, Marcy, Sunny, Nothing Nice. Whatever that song's called. Like that shit.
Tune.
That shit is classic.
That's a huge tune.
But then
I love the energy that song gives. I want to fucking just like fuck off, kind
yeah,
of. That's
smash it.
Nice. Huge.
And then like then he started. Then I think the next run was Dynasty Black Album. No, Dynasty Blueprint Black Album. I think that three album run is as good, if not better, than the Eminem 3 album run.
Black Album.
Yeah, it's all perfect. And then you look at Kanye's discography. We just talked about it. So I don't really think. I think Yeezus. I don't love Yeezus, but it's still a fascinating piece of art that I think Kanye doesn't really have any misses. You could probably argue that Yeezus is the closest to that, or that Jesus is King, if you want to say like it's a weird gospel hip hop thing.
Praise it, baby.
I think that's more like if gospel's just not your thing.
Yeah,
not about anything to do with it being bad.
Still a solid album.
Yeah.
Though. So
I think it's hard not to put Kanye first because whenever you speak about the greatest albums of all time, Kanye is up there twice.
Yeah.
College Dropout and
Twist
yeah, exactly. So
yeah. Okay, so we agree on that.
Good. I had another one, but I think you've already answered it. It's about transcendent music, but we can do overrated, underrated. I have 3 albums which you can speak about.
Okay, we can do that, and then we'll basically wrap it up. We still have all these other topics we can just talk about next week.
Oh yeah, true. Actually.
Things like that. Okay, let's do the overrated, underrated.
Get Rich or Die Trying, 50 Cent.
Oh, so underrated. Honestly, pivotal in rap music, not hip hop, rap.
No, well, hip hop is a culture. Rap is something you do.
But let's forget about how it's like the external thing. What do you think? How would you listen to that right now? Get Rich or Die Trying right now. Okay, yeah.
I was gonna say it's overrated because Tiff played it recently. I don't know if you were here for that.
Yeah, I was there.
And I was like, this is so weak. Like, I was just like, the bars were cringe. I was like, really? This is nursery rhyme shit. I've never been a real big 50 fan, if I'm honest. And I didn't like the. I'm just a bitch. I had a problem with my whole life being. We talked about it before. Everybody shitting on me for being a rap dude, and all of a sudden everyone's like talking about. Everyone kept calling him 50 Cents as well. I don't want to hit everyone in the fucking face. It drove me crazy. And that album, I can't do it. It's just not for me.
I feel
Yeah.
you.
I think it's overrated.
I think it's
I
underrated.
respect that very much. I know exactly. I felt a lot of that. I just happened to, I don't know, when I would drive around by myself, I just bump Diplomats and, Dipset, 50 Cent,
Same year.
Locks, like just, I don't know, grimy shit. Just kind of helped me. I liked majority of the beats. I don't know. I really liked that album because it helped me just like. I didn't listen to every single song, but production was crazy, and the lyricism was like interesting, and it just kind of helped. It inspired me a bit, and it was as part of the mix CD that I had because I used to burn MP3 CDs, put them in the whip, and then go for a cruise and then see what's going on. And whenever I had the inspiration, I'd pull over to wherever and like start writing raps, whether it's like a car park, get some food, chill, eat, write some shit. That's how I wrote like all the mixtapes back in the day, whether I wrote them at work on the clock, getting paid to fucking write while I was talking to dickheads, or I'd actually ride around, drive slow homie, and then, get some food eyes and have a little vibe sesh solo. But it was, that's how she went through.
It makes sense. I also think it's underrated because I feel like whenever there's a debate over like greatest album of all time, I feel like this album's never mentioned, and I think it should be mentioned. Personally,
Yeah,
but
it's important for sure.
But yeah,
it's not amazing, but it's definitely influential. It's like nobody's done shit like this before.
Yeah, you can't argue that.
100% important. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a gangster business, but like, this particular album was like fire.
I feel you.
Rate it highly.
Next one, Drake, Take Care.
Ooh.
I feel like it's really heavily rated. It's not for me either, but I don't think it's like overrated really.
No,
I don't know.
I would say properly rated, but for this it'll be like slightly underrated because I don't think it's overrated. It's got some actually pivotal songs on there, but it's not like blowing my tits off.
That was the genre changing one for Drake. That album changed the face of music. I don't know if
he's more poppy and singy than ever before,
but it made it okay to do that. That album made it okay.
It was cool to sing and be soft.
And then that is what that influenced so much. So for that alone, you're probably right. It just has to be underrated because I don't know if it gets. Maybe it does, but like I don't know if it gets the props.
Some people will.
I don't know. I think people cream over it, and I don't really see it. It's good, but like I don't see it as his even top 3, top 4.
I honestly probably heard the whole thing
maybe not
like
5.
top to bottom like once, and then the singles just
once or twice.
I don't even listen to that shit.
I feel like I see people cream over it, and I'm just like, nah. It's just I feel that's why I feel it's overrated personally.
I think a lot of these things is like what we're all talking about. There's a lot of situational things for every
It
individual.
is. Plus, like, I wasn't a huge fan of old Drake. It was Drake after he released Forever. That was like
that was your
that,
Drake.
that was my
era.
team.
Okay.
Drake Forever was the first Drake song I listened to. I was like, yours.
I think we were probably like the earlier Drake.
Yeah, you were.
And it's very different. So that's fair.
Okay. And the final one I had was J. Cole 2014 Forest Hills Drive.
Oh, underrated. That shit is.
I think it's underrated, and I feel like people always just say, "Oh, the best J. Cole album is Born Sinner," but then I feel like they always forget about this album.
It's a great album.
That's a great album, but I feel like they forget about how good this one was. I thought this album was perfect. Like, zero skips, perfect album.
Zero skips. It's very important.
Ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculously
I was
good.
talking to Tiff about this the other day. We went to the show, the Forest Hill Drive show in Montreal in what year was that? 2016?
2014.
2014. My God. So what I remember about it is it got delayed. There was something, he had trouble at the border. So he was supposed to come to Montreal and then go back down to the East Coast, but they wouldn't let his, it's a traveling show. They made his childhood roof. They had the roof of the house was a part of the stage show, and they wouldn't let the truck over the border. So they had to reschedule it. So he came back, and he did the show like a reschedule, like 2 months later or something after he finished the rest of the run. The whole time, someone gave him like a Habs, like a Montreal Canadiens jersey that he wore for the whole show. And he did, I think this was special for the Montreal show, he did the whole album top to bottom. And it was the closest I've ever been to crying at a show. Like, it was the most... I felt like he's just the most relatable, nicest motherfucker. And it just made me feel like it's attainable. Like, I'm like, this guy is just a fucking dude. Just like us.
We saw him at South by Southwest, you know,
In
him and Melanie
11.
Fiona on the panels and shit. Like we got, you know, mad close to him. We didn't go up and say peace or anything because the line was a little long. But we got mad close, and these dudes were like super humble and super dope. Super insightful, mad respectful, like very like, wow.
But even that specific, I think you're 100% there, and that specific album then captured all of that stuff more so than his other projects. Because they leave Little Born Sin and How They Power Trip and the other joints that are a bit more like
it's like
storytelling.
Like he's a very different individual. It's like he's more down to earth for us.
That's it. And he was talking about his life more and more life experiences. I think. Oh, what do you think
the
about this?
vulnerability is like the selling point.
Correct, and the relatability. 2014 Forest Hill
Yeah.
Drive is his Nothing Was the Same, and I think they're similar-ish in their vibe. In maybe what Nothing Was the Same did for Drake and talked about more stuff. I don't know. I just feel like it's the... Yeah, I don't know. I feel the similar ways about the album. And, you know, you think of music, you think of colors. They both kind of make me think of the same colors.
Makes me think of blue.
Yeah, lots of blue. Both
That's
of them.
really cool. I mean, the cover,
I mean, obviously the cover
I like
on
that,
Drake
guys.
is blue. And I don't know if 2014... Does Forest still have blue cover? I don't think so. But they both
it has like a you know, bit of green, but grey and blue because he's sitting on the roof. And there's like a bunch of the bokeh is is blue and grey, colder.
It's a little bit
color, but there is a lot of green in it.
Yeah,
but
you're
it's
right.
definitely on that. You're right, dude. The way you described it.
So that feels... I don't know. I think that album is
that's a mood. That's very important. Like the cover is very important to the color of the cover is very important to the mood of the color sonically of the album.
Do you know? Yes. Do you think then about Relentless? Relentless makes me feel brown and orange
because it's warm.
Because it's warm.
There's a lot of love. There's a lot of purity. There's a lot of good energy in it. There's a lot of good messages. There's a lot of soulful elements, and that usually is, you know, brown, burnt orange, and like wood, sort of like darker colors. Like honestly, bro, it's earthy, 100%.
Does that remind you of D'Angelo, like Brown Sugar? Because you think about the cover of Brown Sugar.
It's all white and tan and
that orangey brown with the way.
Brown. Exactly.
And then even Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite, like Too Hungover, sounds like that. And that's a brown album to me, like brown and orange album. Fuck, I never thought about that until you started saying this shit.
It's difficult.
It all fits in.
I feel like it fits with certain albums, but then, for example, Donda.
Maybe good albums have a visual and an oral connection.
Yeah, maybe albums of that level.
So the cover art. So let's talk like it's like
the color and the vibe of the cover art has as a synchronicity or a synonymous vibe to the feeling, the color of the audio.
Yes,
makes sense?
I 100%. If you look at these two, Drake, the Nothing Was the Same. It's very blue. It's sort of like not necessarily bright,
cold.
But blue and grey maybe. Because it's like it's warm, but it's a little cold.
Side of warm. It's cooler than it is warm, but it's not like, you know, freezing, like it's, you know, distant, but it's like not warm and cuddly.
Because he's talking about hardships, and then you think about J. Cole, and I think it's probably pretty similar. Similar-ish blue, maybe a little bit of like greens or something in there, and that definitely shines through. And in Relentless, the cover is the fire burning the wood. The wood's got the brown in it. The fire's got the orange and little yellow type of shit. I feel like that was reflected. You got this right here, College Dropout. It's got the gold and the bear sitting on the wood. So like I think of like a brown and like a yellow with that album too. Brown and yellow is specifically what I think of. But I wonder, like Nosh just said, I wonder if it's if they correspond automatically, or that you end up corresponding those colors because you're thinking of the cover when you listen to the album. You almost always have seen the cover before you listen, right? So you know what the artist is trying to do, and I think it's an important part of that, of the process of making an album. Forget a single, obviously singles have covers too, but the album cover art has to be thoughtful.
Yeah, I agree somewhat. I think with some, for example, Dark Twisted Fantasy, Red, I feel like he's trying to portray a menace, someone who's trying to be a bad person. like trying to get away with shit. Even though you got really nice songs like Blame Game, but that's so toxic. The Blame Game is a really toxic song, but it's kind of like the same sort of vibe where it's like all reds and it's like he's trying to be a menace, trying to be evil, trying to be this kind of
Runaway
person.
too, like when he's like
yeah, exactly. Like, and also Monster as well.
Yep.
I don't know.
See, there you go. That's fantastic analysis. That's exactly what it is. So it's like I wonder if it influences beforehand. I wonder if it's good to listen to the album before you've seen the cover, and then see if the colors that the songs paint are reflected in the cover art of the album. Because I imagine most people don't do the cover art before the music's done. We did it at Relentless long after it was done.
Yeah.
Or at least I've never started on cover art until at least the music had been like half finished or something. If I'm early, if I'm ahead of the game, it's been half finished and I've got the beats, already know what it's kind of going to sound like. But I'm not going to be like, all right, hey, Nosh, me and you doing our album, let's do the cover first. Like, I don't know, we have to fucking pick the beats.
Fuck,
and
like, how the fuck do you even know? Like, yeah, that's a good point.
But
Like, even with the latest single I dropped, like Place I Know, it's a warm, wholesome ass song. Like, there's a photo of a sunset. It's mad warm.
Feels warm to me.
Just makes sense. Like, what the fuck? I
Heavy
didn't
as
plan
the
that.
Head.
That's kind of how she goes.
Heavy as the Head from Storms is a good one because it's got like the dark,
Royal
moody
colours,
green.
emerald, luxury.
But a little dark too.
But a little dark as well, yeah.
Because it's got the
some
songs
dark
are kind of
tones.
dark.
Yeah, Audacity's a dark song. What else is there?
But like the Crown joint
Widely
versus
flowed.
Yeah.
Crown, yeah.
But even Crown is like it's the other side of it. Like some of those other ones are the dark end of that green spectrum where it's going into the corners of the cover. And then songs like Crown are like that green and it's still like a bit more like Jesus is King is blue. And this is like green that it's not that much of a stretch from blue. So it's almost like gospel stuff is kind of got a blue tinge to it or something. Maybe because there's a lot of that element on Heavy's the Head. Like Fraser T. Smith, the producer, is a genius. That's good. This is a good convo about this shit, boys.
Very interesting.
What up?
So we're at 1 hour 26. We're kind of sort of at the end. I knew we'd have too many points. We have a bunch of shit for next week. Just a real couple last minute things that we just have to mention because they're timely. There's been 2 verses announced. One notion that you actually saw was November 18th, so next week. Chaka Khan versus Stephanie Mills, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, should be a decent versus. I don't know who Stephanie Mills is, but we'll figure it out.
I know the name, I just can't picture off the top of my head or what song that she did.
Like, I guess like the fuck.
Like
Chaka Khan's fire, so she.
What's her big song?
Also fire too.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Let me go on to Apple Music.
Yeah, see if she will have like some songs. So either way, that'll be cool. So a nice like soulful, legendary status, like OG type of situation. They're pulling this up here now.
Never knew love like this before.
Oh, is that the one that Faith Evans sampled?
Should I play it quickly?
Yeah, it could be. Or maybe not. Not really.
I do know this song.
Yeah.
Do you know love like this before? That song.
Off the top of my head, then.
Let me skip to the actual lyric. Where is it?
I bet she's being sampled. Like it'll be almost better to know.
Sounds like a sample.
Oh, I've heard this 100%.
Yeah.
I wonder who sampled her. It'll almost be good to go like if she's like who sampled her stuff because I'm like, oh, it's that.
Whosampled.com.
Yeah, who sampled Stephanie Mills? So. And I don't know if there's any particular songs, but just in general, like her discography would be fucking sick. Go up a bit. Does this say? Oh, it says tracks. Okay, sorry.
Okay, here we go. Yeah.
Oh, here.
119 samples.
119 has been registered. That's pretty good.
One on Nothing by DMX.
Okay. Black Girl Lost by Nas.
Yeah. Drive
My Crew by Jean Grey. Fuck off. What's that called? Go up. Sorry, it's one of our favorite beats of all time. Starlight. Oh my god.
Starlight,
we did a song called My Crew over. I got the tattoo based off that song. Like that's my favorite song probably, and it wasn't even our beat that we ever did. Like me, Notion, Tommy, and backup from back in the day. All right, that's dope.
Puppy Chow
by Common. Okay. Dr. Dre, go. Was the Dre one? Done? Back up. Oh, DJ Dice. Sorry. I read it wrong. Alright, so Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas. Getting Jiggy with it, apparently.
Getting Jiggy with it? Oh, it's a remix. DJ
it's a
Scratch
remix.
remix. Okay, not the original. Alright, so there's a bunch of shit. We should probably know. The point is we don't know and we suck.
That's wild.
So then the next verses that they announced, I want to listen to this Starlight song after. I swear I've heard it before. 3-6 Mafia and Bone Thugs and Harmony getting down on December 2nd. That's kind of crazy, eh? Apparently they had beef back in the day.
Sick.
Yeah. I don't like 3-6
for it.
at all, I'm not going to lie. Like I have no...
Not a huge fan. Not a huge fan at all.
I have no
But-
positive inclinations to it. So that's gonna be interesting. So we've got a couple nice ones, full like OG, OG rap type of shit, like at least from like the early '90s era, and we have some real serious OG soul singers from back in the day. So I think that's pretty interesting. So Verzuz keeping us packed. We'll touch on some more shit next week, but we definitely want to talk about today. Happy birthday to the Black Album. We talk about it all thing. It's 18 years old today. It was November 4, and we filmed this the day before it comes out. What date is it? My phone.
14th.
Is it the 14th?
14th today.
Okay, so it's November 14th. And in 2003. Is that right? 18 years? Yeah. 2003.
Wow.
So, God tier shit. So that came out today. So we talked about
top
it.
to bottom, and it, like I said earlier in the podcast, it changed my whole day. Just by hearing the production, just by rapping along, hearing a couple of tiny little lines that I just definitely overlooked as a youngin', and it's been a while since I've run the whole shit. A couple of songs I wasn't too keen on, but it still ran through. But just legendary production, legendary vibe, good connection between it's super influential for me. Jay-Z is the fucking go, and I just super happy fucking ran that up and down. So.
Love it. Good timing.
Beautiful.
Perfect for that. I love that. And lastly, should we... I'm saying this sort of out loud to you guys and to the audience. So I was inspired by Hip Hop by the Numbers. Yeah, should we make like a Bad Habits podcast playlist where the three of us can just add songs to it? I mean, you can make one on Apple Music, and if you're able to do a personal one, and then I can run the one on Spotify. And we could just be like, and Nosh, I know you might not have accounts with either. You could be like, yo, add this, and we'll just keep them exactly the same. We could put like, just maybe some stuff we talked about each week in it. And after we talk about the episode, obviously this week we'd probably put a whole bunch of all the different artists, Drake, Kanye, Eminem, Jay,
dude, that'd be so
whoever
sick.
and,
I'd love to listen to that.
and
shit.
a mix of the new songs, maybe a couple Silk Sonic songs we talked about, maybe the song, the Skepta one you're talking about, and then every week we just leave some in, and maybe we'll let it go for like a month's worth of episodes, and just take those last ones out and then swap them out again. So it's always sort of a rotating playlist that holds like a month worth of music that we're talking about, so people can hear it and just put it in one spot. And we give Apple and Spotify probably the main two spots, so if we can keep both.
Yeah. That works. All
right, so we could work on that this the next day and get that. We could get that done pretty quick.
Yeah, easy.
And we could just add a section of the note to add the songs. Boom, bam, boom. All right, cool.
Amazing.
With that, that's been episode 81. Uncle Dan, where can everyone find you online?
I Dan Johnson on Instagram and Twitter, and I just uploaded to HTFJXMIND on Instagram. We're on 805 followers now, so. Try it.
Really?
Yeah, 805. I want to get 1,000 by the end of the year, but we're trying. So. Could do. So make sure you follow, guys, please. What about you, Notion?
I did the wrong way around.
You did it wrong way
Sorry,
around.
guys.
It's all right.
Hey, it's all good. No stress. Mans is out here at Notion Baby on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, at IllNote Studios on Instagram and Facebook, illnotestudios.com, notionbeats.com. Fucking give me a shout, eh? See Feezy?
Bloody Ripper. You can get me CEEFOR on Twitter and Instagram. And everyone, thank you again for listening and watching. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe button, hit the fucking notification bell.
Fucking ding, cunt!
So you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at The Movement Fam. The pods go live every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So check it out. Usually one of us is there to answer some questions and stuff. And, mate, we'll be back next week. Oh, do we should do?
Dog up, yeah.
What did we forget?
We should actually do a thumbnail.
We should do a fucking thumbnail.
That's what we should
Get
do.
me going there.
Ready? There she is. All right, y'all. Fuck bitches get money. You know what the fuck it is. Catch you next week.
I will do exactly that. Catch
Yeah.
you, Khan.
Catch you, Khan.
Peace.
Catch you, Khan.
Peace.
Shasta Tweed, sponsor us. Hey,
Peace.
give us cannabis drinks.
Yeah.
Cannabis drinks for your fucking face.
Oh, yeah.
For your face hole.
Naked
Yo,
chin, Khan.
a
Get it, yeah. Catch you,
con.
Khan.
You're a con.
Khan.
You're a con.
Oh, you're a con.